On February 28, 2026, a massive barrage of precision missiles ignited the night sky over the Middle East. This was the opening salvo of a major joint military campaign targeting the Iranian regime. This satellite image shows the specific layout and fortified boundaries of the desert industrial complex that Allied forces were attempting to breach. The strikes hit during a period of extreme internal regime instability, zeroing in on highly protected nuclear facilities and military infrastructure. The two nations directing the attack used different names for the mission. Israel called it Operation Roaring Lion, while the U.S. Department of Defense designated it Operation Epic Fury. This was a deeply integrated effort, with Israeli and American military personnel standing side by side to coordinate the logistics of the assault. Following the initial success of the strikes, Mossad director David Barnea made an official statement. He credited the technological and strategic breakthroughs of the operation to a single veteran intelligence operative, identified only as M. But official records present a timeline that seems physically impossible. The man known as M died in a boating accident in May 2023. He had been dead for nearly 3 years before the operation he supposedly engineered even began. This 3-year gap indicates that the kinetic success of the 2026 strikes was built on a foundation of data gathered in the past, effectively deciding the outcome of the campaign long before the missiles were ever fueled. The operative Barnea referred to was 50-year-old Erez Shimoni. Over a 30-year career in Mossad, Shimoni built a reputation for his ability to seamlessly blend into diverse international cultures, comfortably speaking with people from all walks of life. On May 28, 2023, Shimoni joined a group of Israeli and Italian intelligence officers aboard a boat on Lake Maggiore, using the cover of a tourist outing to mask their clandestine meeting. A sudden and violent storm struck the area, causing the vessel to capsize. Shimoni drowned in the accident, alongside 2 Italian intelligence agents and the wife of the ship's captain. When the bodies were recovered and identified, the Israeli Prime Minister's office had to issue a statement. They officially acknowledged Shimoni's decades of service, though they explicitly refused to elaborate on what he was actually doing in Italy. The accident quickly drew global scrutiny. What was meant to be an invisible gathering of spies became front-page news, exposing a deep cover network operating right beneath the surface of a popular tourist destination. Even the most carefully planned covert operations, backed by massive state resources, cannot account for everything. A random weather event proved fatal to an intelligence network that had evaded detection by foreign governments for years. Shimoni built an intelligence blueprint containing structural vulnerabilities. Planners used this to span the gap between 2023 intelligence and the 2026 airstrikes. His unit combined human intelligence with hardware, planting surveillance markers deep within the regime's networks. When Operation Roaring Lion finally commenced, those exact markers were activated. The groundwork laid by Shimoni's team effectively neutralized Iran's defensive radar and anti-aircraft countermeasures, giving the Allied strike fighters a clear path to their targets. Barnea's public praise for Shimoni serves as a rare acknowledgement of a harsh military reality. The physical combat, the missiles, and the planes of 2026 only succeeded because the invisible espionage conflict had already been won 3 years prior. Operatives working in these deep cover environments are planting seeds for harvests they will likely never see. Their value lies in mapping out the battlefield long before the politicians or generals ever decide to attack. The primary function of modern espionage is proactive rather than reactive. An intelligence agent is tasked with building the structural reality that future military forces will eventually exploit. When a campaign like Roaring Lion makes international headlines, the public only sees the kinetic climax. They see the explosions, but they are completely blind to the thousands of hours of invisible labor performed years in advance that dictated exactly where those bombs would land. Shimoni's body was returned to Israel and laid to rest in the coastal city of Ashkelon. Given the sensitive nature of his work, his service was honored under conditions of extreme secrecy. Senior Mossad officials attended his funeral, but the ceremony looked unlike a standard military burial. The attendees wore hats and medical face masks to completely obscure their features and protect their identities from foreign surveillance. Barnea described Shimoni as a kind-hearted man of the people who effortlessly drew strangers toward him. Yet the absolute anonymity required by his profession meant that in death, his own colleagues had to hide their faces just to mourn him. The 2026 strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities were the physical culmination of Shimoni's life's work. He placed the first tactical pieces on the board in 2023, and 3 years later, those exact pieces triggered the collapse of the target's defenses. The ultimate impact of an intelligence architect cannot be measured while they are actively deployed. It is measured by the sheer scale of the history they continue to shape, long after they have permanently left the field.